Let us today start with solid state chapter. Okay, now is it visible where I have written?
Not visible.
Okay, so little lower I will write. Now, solid state. When we talk about the states of matter, we know the common states of matter which we have studied are solid, liquid, and gas. Three states of matter. Now, about liquid state, you have studied in detail in class 11th. All gas laws we have studied. Okay. Gaseous state also. For gaseous state detail was there in class 11th. Liquid state, some introduction was there, like surface tension, viscosity, few points were there. So these two were done. Now in class 12th you have in detail about solid state. Now when we talk about these states of matter, what are the factors which are most important in deciding these states of matter? This we have to talk about first. So there are two things which decide the state of particular substance. One is the intermolecular force of attraction. Okay, and the second important thing is thermal energy. The balance of the two, or the anything whichever is more or less, that will decide that which will be the state of particular substance. For example, if thermal energy is low, okay, thermal energy is low means what? Temperature is low, okay, then the effect of intermolecular forces will be more. They will be more effective. Intermolecular forces of attraction means the particles which constitute the particular substance. That decides, that is actually these are the molecules, they have attraction. We know that whether the molecules are charged or not charged, whether they are ions or not ions, then also some type of force of attraction are always there. If they are normal molecules, then also we will have either dipole-dipole interaction, or we call them van der Waals forces of attraction will always be there. So these forces of attraction are more when the thermal energy is low. We know about water, that water can exist in all three states. We have seen its solid state also, its liquid state also, and its gaseous state also in the form of vapors. So substance water, for example, can exist in all three states by the proper combination of these two factors only. Whenever thermal energy is lower, the intermolecular forces of attraction become more prominent and the substance exists in solid state. Okay. When thermal energy is higher, because the molecules start absorbing energy and they start vibrating, they start repelling each other or moving away from each other, and because of that intermolecular forces of attraction become weak and they exist in liquid, and if more thermal energy is supplied to them, then the state converts from liquid to gaseous state. So these are the two deciding factors to have deciding the state of particular substance. Because we are talking about in this chapter solid state, so we will just discuss some general features of solid state which we have been studying since smaller classes also. Like solids have fixed shape, fixed volume, okay, shape, size and volume. Second thing, solids are incompressible and rigid. In case of solids, the density is high, and we are comparing these characteristics as compared to liquid and gases. So density is more. Then intermolecular forces of attraction is high. So these are some common features of solid state. Now, after knowing the common features, now we have to come to classify these solids. Now the first classification of the solids, in which they are classified into two types, that is crystalline solids and second is amorphous solids. Now this classification of solid is based on the arrangement of constituent particles. We know that if solid is there, it will have some particles inside it. So depending on the arrangement of these constituent particles, the order of arrangement, if the order of arrangement is systematic, then it is a crystalline solid, and if the constituent particles are arranged randomly, then the type of solid is a amorphous solid. Okay, so depending on the arrangement of the constituent particles, they have been classified into crystalline solids and amorphous solids. First of all, we will start with the examples of this, and then we will come to other points of these two type of solids. Example of crystalline solids, if we talk, then example is quartz, then all metal crystals. All metal crystals, that means all metals except for mercury and gallium, which do not exist as solids. All metal crystals will be crystalline in nature. Okay, sodium metal crystal, then magnesium metal, other metals, all will be having crystalline nature. And also solids of the molecules, solid molecules like NaCl, zinc sulfide, these all which are ionic type of compounds, they all will be crystalline solids. Okay, other molecules also, if we study, then HCl, these also, when if it exists in the solid state, then these all will be in type of crystalline solids. Now what comes in the example of amorphous solid? Then glass, rubber, plastic, okay, fiberglass, these all are example of amorphous solids. So by taking to the examples, we will have just some idea that what actually are crystalline solids and amorphous solids. Now we come to the points of difference between them. Now, as I told you that they are differentiated on the basis of the arrangement of particles inside it. So, crystalline solids have long range order. On the other hand, amorphous solids have short range order. Means what? That the constituent particles have a regular pattern, or you can say a regular arrangement of particles which is repeated periodically. In entire crystal. What does this mean? Means whatever arrangement of particles is there, there is a regular pattern of it. Regular pattern means same type of pattern is followed, and that regular pattern is repeated periodically in entire crystal. Means the whole crystal is alike. Whatever pattern is in the small section of our crystalline solid, that will be repeated all over the crystal. On the other hand, in amorphous solids, they have short range order. First thing is this, that in amorphous solids there is no regular pattern of arrangement. Okay, there is no regular pattern of arrangement, and even if arrangement is present, that is only for short duration or short distance. Okay, so short distance arrangement is there. Okay, clear? Okay, now so these are the 2 points. So it means in amorphous solids regular pattern of arrangement of particles is not there, and if particle arrangement is there, then also that is only for very short distance, not for long distance. Okay, to understand it in a better way, we will just make a small diagram for it so it is clear. For example, in case of crystalline solids, let me make, because it will be required after some time also. So let me make it somewhere here. Okay. Now you can see that a pattern is there in this type of crystal, that one row is made by the red color particles, another is by blue, then again red, then again blue. There are red and blue indicate 2 different type of constituent particles. This type of arrangement is present in crystalline solids. On the other hand, suppose 2 different type of particles are involved and they are such random arrangement, irregular arrangement is present in case of amorphous solids. Okay, this is about crystalline and amorphous solids structure, internal structure including their particles. So first point now is clear, they have long range order, they have disorder, or if some order is present, that is only for short distance. Now the second point is this, that crystalline solids have regular geometry or regular geometrical shape. They will have some geometrical shape. There are various geometrical shapes. So crystalline solids will always have some geometrical shape, regular geometrical shape, and even if you cut those crystals with the help of a sharp edged tool, any sharp edged tool, then the new surfaces which are generated are always smooth and again having some regular geometry. The cut surfaces will be smooth and will have some regular pattern again. Okay. Now, in case of amorphous solids, if you cut them with the help of a sharp object, then what will happen? The new surfaces after cutting which are generated are not smooth and are irregular. Okay, so this is about their structure. 2 points about their structure. Now, because crystalline solids have regular geometrical shape or regular arrangement of particles, they have fixed or sharp melting point. They have fixed or sharp melting point present. On the other hand, these melt over a range of temperature. Means they will keep on melting. Means in case of crystalline solids, what will happen? A particular sharp melting point will be there. On that particular melting point, whole of the substance will melt. On the other hand, in case of crystal amorphous solids, what will happen? They will melt over a range of temperature. Means some part will melt, then gradually it will melt. That means this is the reason why these amorphous solids can be blown into various shapes, because they don't melt all of a sudden, or they don't just solidify all of a sudden, because of their range of melting over a range of temperature. Okay. Then melting point. After that, these are known as, these are crystalline and these are amorphous. These are known as true solids. True solids means whatever properties of solids are expected, all those properties are possessed by crystalline solids. On the other hand, these amorphous solids are known as pseudo solids. Pseudo solids means false. The meaning of word pseudo is false, or they are also known as super cooled liquids. Means they don't, first thing that they are called pseudo solids because they don't possess all the required properties of solids. Some properties they have, but they don't have all typical qualities of solid. That is why pseudo solids. And the second word, super cooled liquids. Why they are known as super cooled liquids? Because they have tendency to flow like liquids over years. Liquids flow instantly. If water is a liquid, it will flow as soon as you will drop it. But these amorphous solids will not flow in a minute or in a year. Over years they flow. They have tendency to flow. That is why they are known as super cooled liquids. The best example of it is window panes of old buildings. Very old buildings are there. Their window panes are thicker at the base than the top. The reason is that because they are kept vertical, so over years gradually they are flowing. That is why the bottom part becomes little thicker as compared to the top. So this is because of the reason super cooled liquids. So sometimes there is a question that why amorphous solids are called super cooled liquids, because they have tendency to flow over years, and example of it is window panes of old buildings are thicker at the base as compared to the top. Also, these amorphous solids may get converted into crystalline solids some part on heating. So when some amorphous solids are heated, glass for example, when glass is heated, it becomes milky. So converting of a transparent glass to milkiness is the example, or you can say indication of conversion of amorphous into crystalline part. So again this question is asked sometime that why glass turns milky. So it becomes milky because amorphous solids on heating sometimes get converted into crystalline. So some part of it gets converted into arranged orders, because difference between amorphous and crystalline is due to the arrangement of particles. So if because of heating some arrangement is made proper, so some part of it becomes crystalline. Okay. Apart from these points, the last point of difference between the two, which is very important, is crystalline solids are anisotropic in nature and amorphous solids are isotropic in nature. Now what does this mean? Anisotropic and isotropic. Now if we see, if I move in this crystal in one direction, okay, and if I move in the crystal in other direction, if you see both the direction, you just see that when we are moving this side, we are encountering red particles on right hand side and blue particles on left hand side. Means the particles encountered on moving from bottom to top are red particles either one side or blue particles one side. But if I am moving diagonally in this, then you see that alternate blue, red, and this is happening because of regular geometrical pattern of arrangement of particles. So in moving in different directions in the same crystal, we are encountering different type of environment. That is why if some physical properties like refracting index, okay, are measured, they will have different values in different direction. In one direction some other value, in other direction some other value. So some properties, some physical properties of crystalline solids are different in different direction. This property is known as anisotropic, means having values of some physical properties, not all physical properties, but some physical properties different in different direction. This is called anisotropic nature. On the other hand, in amorphous solid, the nature is isotropic, means because there is no proper arrangement, that means the values in all directions are random, no proper value. So these values are known as isotropic values because there is no fixed pattern. So they will have different, means in all directions they are encountering different type of particles. So the nature is isotropic. The properties have isotropic values. So these are points of difference between crystalline and amorphous solids. Okay, any point is left? Let us see. No.
मैम पर एनिसोट्रोपिक में आपने बोला डिफरेंट डायरेक्शन में जाके प्रॉपर्टीज चेंज हो.
Different direction means, see, change means in this case what is happening, a specific value you can tell in this direction we will have this specific value which will be different from this direction. In this direction you can report that this is having different value than this, but in this case because there is no deciding factor that which type of particles are encountered, so instead of moving in different directions we are taking overall average value of those properties, so that value will come only one average value because no direction is fixed in which direction we have to move. Even this is not fixed in this crystal because the spaces are not proper as in case of this. So instead of taking direct values in different direction, overall average value is taken because all values are not specified in any direction because direction is not there in it. All are randomly arranged. If you try to move in this direction, you can encounter a particle here, then direction will be changed. So that is why the average value is taken and it is called isotropic average value. Okay. Now amorphous solids are not, details of amorphous solids are not in the syllabus. Details of crystalline solids are there. So now we come to the classification of crystalline solids. See, before we understand crystalline solids, we understand that a crystal, actually the smallest unit of crystal is like this. You can imagine crystal is never like this. These lines are imaginary lines to show the arrangement actually, but these lines cannot exist in the crystal. Actually the particles will be like this, one particle, second particle, third particle, fourth. They will be closely packed because actually it is a structure of solid, so they will be closely packed, but to understand it properly we draw it like this. So you have to understand that this is one particle, this is another, and these are other. So now we have to study the classification of crystalline solids. See, this chapter requires little imagination also. You have to imagine the structure of solids and only the concepts can be clear to you. Now this is one particle, this is another particle. Now these particles which are present on the corners of particular specific geometry, because we said that crystalline solids have specific geometry. So these constituent particles may be anything. This can be a molecule also. Okay. For example, hydrogen molecule. So molecule of hydrogen everywhere, because if it is a crystal of hydrogens in solid form, though it is very difficult, but they can exist. Okay. So if it is for iodine, it will be easier to understand iodine. Okay. Then iodine molecule. So the constituent particles of this crystal are actually molecules. Similarly, instead of molecule, these constituent particles can also be ions. Suppose if this is a crystal of sodium chloride, so one point will be by sodium, another place will be occupied by chlorine, okay, then sodium, then chlorine, like this. So here the constituent particles are ions. So this will be a type of ionic solid, depending on which are the constituent particles. Now suppose if I make crystal of sodium metal, okay, sodium metal crystal, then these all constituent particles will be sodium only, no other thing will be present, Na positive and all other Na positive. Okay, that means what? That constituent particles may be a atom, may be a ion, and may be a molecule for different. That is why we have to do the classification of crystalline solids. Clear? So the classification is based on the nature of constituent particles which are present in the unit cell of a crystal. So based on this, these are classified as 4 types. The first one is molecular solids. Just I told you that the constituent particles of molecular solids will be molecules. Second are ionic solids. The constituent particles of these type of solids will be ion. Third type are metallic solids. And the fourth type are covalent solids. Okay. Now, the molecular solids may be of 3 types. They may be non-polar molecules. Non-polar molecules like iodine, just now I said, iodine is a non-polar molecule. They may be polar molecules. Okay. Like HCl is a polar molecule. Sulfur dioxide is a polar molecule. Then third may be H-bonded molecules like water, like NH3. These are example of H-bonded molecules. So molecular solids can be of 3 types, rest all are having one type each. Now we have to study these all molecules on the some specific points. We will try to study them. So the first point is that constituent particles. Okay. So the constituent particles in case of first is molecular solid. Molecular solid in non-polar molecules. Okay. So non-polar molecules, I gave you example is I2. So the points which we have made, the lattice points, they are occupied by what? Non-polar molecules like iodine, like nitrogen. They will be the molecules which will occupy the lattice sites. These points, they will be occupied by molecules, not by atoms. Okay. So constituent particles here are molecule. Maybe it is non-polar or polar or H-bonded. In all 3, the constituent particle will remain molecule. Now, binding force. Which type of force will bind them together? So in case of non-polar molecule, if you talk, molecule are the constituent particles, but for first type, that is non-polar, if we see, then binding force will be, you can say van der Waals force, or you can say London forces only, because the molecule is non-polar, so there will be no force which will exist. Okay, so van der Waals or London forces will be present. In case of polar, if you see, in case of polar molecules which are molecular solids, then the constant particles are again molecule, but the type of forces, because they are polar, so they will have dipole interaction. So dipole forces will exist between them. Third is H bonded in molecular. In molecular solids, the third type is H bonded. So constant particles are again molecule, means here water is present, here water is present, like this. Okay, it is not so that H is present here and O is present here. Complete molecule is present on each point. That is why it is molecular solid. So H bonded constant particles are molecule, but the binding forces are hydrogen bond. So type of force present in these are hydrogen bond. Clear? Now, generally because of this, we have to talk about their melting point also. For non-polar molecular solids, melting points are low, and these are soft solids. At room temperature, these generally do not exist in the form of solids. They exist either in the form of gas or in the form of liquid. Which one? Non-polar molecules. Example we had written: hydrogen, iodine, nitrogen. Is it visible there?
This one.
Hydrogen, iodine, nitrogen, or you can also say helium, neon. These also come under non-polar molecular solids because their molecule exists as monoatomic. Neon, helium, all inert gases. So their crystals as well as hydrogen, iodine, nitrogen, chlorine, they all will exist as soft solids at room temperature, and their melting points will be low. Okay, these are the various points to differentiate between them. Now again the second one, polar molecules. Molecules are the constant particles. Examples for those we had written. One example was HCl, one example is SO2. Again it is molecular solid, so each point is HCl. Okay, molecule, not like this H positive here and Cl negative here. Then it will become a covalent solid. Complete molecule is on each point, so it is a HCl or SO2 are some examples. Because dipole interactions are there, so melting points are low, but they are low but not as low as non-polar, but still it come in the category of low. Okay, one more thing is there, when conductivity, when we talk about their electrical conductivity, so these are non-conductors, or you can say insulators. One more point to include, insulators. When it comes for the conductivity of these, then these are also insulators. Now the third is H bonded solids. Melting points low, not very high. Okay, and they are also insulators. Example we had written H2O, NH3. These are the examples for these. And again these are comparatively soft solids as compared to others which we are going to study further. As compared to these two, these are little harder. Third one, H bonded. But as compared to other solids, still they fall in the category of soft solids. So these are the points of difference for different type of molecular solids. Same we have to see for ionic, metallic and covalent.